Welcome to the Ultimate Medieval 2 Battle Strategies Guide. When you're through with this guide, you will be able to win almost any battle situation that you face in Medieval 2 Total War. I've been playing this game for almost 18 years, and in that time I've held the world record for the Blitz campaign, and I've picked up a number of advanced battle techniques. In this video, I hope to share a number of those with you, and give you the tools that you need to be able to win any Medieval 2 battle situation that you find yourself in. To do this, I'm first going to give you an overview of the tools at your disposal when you're fighting a battle, and some of these are ones that even players who played for a while may not know of. Then I'm going to explain my 3 keys for success in any battle, and then I'm going to give some specific strategies for field battles, defensive battles, and offensive battles. If you want to skip around at all, there are detailed chapters on this video, so please feel free to do that. I'm going to assume that if you're watching this video, you're not brand new to the game. If you are, go and look up a tutorial for that. This is designed to help people who've played the game have a better and more firm grasp of how to command their troops in battle. So with that said, what kind of controls do you need to know? Well, first, there are 2 settings that I recommend everyone change. And the first one of those can only be changed before you start a campaign. So you want to go to options, you want to go to game settings, and I recommend going with huge unit scale. Typically, a human is going to be able to maximize their usage of units better than an AI. So it's to your advantage to be able to have more troops within a unit that you can work with, especially since generally you're going to be using your general's bodyguard unit, and it helps a lot to have a 40 or 60 man general's bodyguard unit than a 20 man. So if you have the graphics capabilities to do this, and let's face it, at this point it's 2025, most of us do, you're going to want to do that. The second one is you're going to want to uncheck this restrict camera box, and that's going to allow you to move your camera all over the battlefield. Click apply changes. In the deployment stage, you have several tools available to you, including grouping, control 1. You can cycle through automatic formations using shift 1, 2, 3, 4. These are sort of pre-baked presets. I don't typically find them very helpful, but they're there if you want them. And you also can right click and drag along a point to set positionings instantly in the deployment. Once you're in the battle, you can use this as a place to direct them and they'll walk or run to that position. A couple different unit capabilities that are useful in some capacities. For example, most spear units can form a skeleton, which is where they will move into the circle like this with their shields outwards. Very good for defensive postures against cavalry. Also, when you have a unit stationed somewhere where you really just want them to brace against oncoming troops, enable the guard mode. When this is on, they are not going to move, they're not going to chase routing units, they're not going to get distracted, they're going to stay right there, and they're going to guard that exact spot. Very useful in particular for siege battles and choke points. Most archer units have 3 different abilities. The first of these is fire flaming arrow. I typically don't use this because they're more accurate without them. The benefit of flaming arrows is that it delivers a morale penalty to oncoming armies. Even though I'm a big fan of decreasing morale as a whole, I'll talk about that more in a second. Generally speaking, I think the archer's best role is to thin out the enemy ranks as they come on. They also have fire at will mode. This one I usually keep on just so I'm doing less micromanaging of the archers. My playstyle is typically not super archer heavy, but there are definitely circumstances where you will want to preserve ammo and you would turn it off. Fire at will allows them to fire as soon as the enemy comes into range, and typically I want them to do that if I've got them already positioned there, so I keep it on. But if you turn it off, they won't fire until you give them a direct attack command. And finally, there's skirmish mode. I usually turn this off. When this is on, they're going to flee once an enemy gets within range automatically. Typically, I want to control the positioning myself, and I'm going to be putting infantry in front of them anyways, and I'd rather they get that one last volley off than waste it running away from the enemy. But sometimes in really large battles, it's going to be better to turn it on. Horse archers, instead of having flaming ammo, they're going to have an ability called circle and shoot. I almost never use this just because I usually want my horse archers to be doing cavalry, because I also want my horse archers to be functioning as cavalry and charging into the enemy at times and in between volleys, so that's not very useful. Instead, I'm going to turn off the skirmish mode, and I want my horse archers to fire a volley of arrows into the side of the enemy, and then I want them to charge into them. And this is a trick that a lot of people really don't know, and I often get asked in my Blitz campaigns, how do you do this? Well, you hold down Alt, and it'll give you the alternate attack, and then it'll allow you to charge. With mounted horses, you want to back them up, and they're still fire at will, so they're going to be shooting into the enemy as they're retreating, which is really powerful. Turn them around. Another important tool that I think a lot of people don't really know about is the fine-tuning of the speed controls. Most people know that you can pause, that you can still give directions while you're completely paused, so that's always very nice. And everyone knows that you can go up to 6x speed, but not a lot of people know that you can actually go down to slower speeds, or you can use much finer tuned increments. And you can do this by holding down shift and pressing the faster or slower button. So if you want to be playing this, if there's a lot happening and this is a big battle and you want to be on a slow speed but you don't want to be completely paused, you can go down to 0.1 or 0.3 or something like that, and you can give each unit very specific instructions. Now that we've covered the basics, I'm going to talk about my 3 keys to success in any battle. The first is matchups, the second is positioning, the third is morale, morale, morale. First, matchups. Every unit falls into one of 4 basic categories. First is spearmen, second is infantry, third is archers or ranged. There's also artillery, which kind of fall into that. And fourth is cavalry, including missile cavalry. In an ideal world, you want each unit to be fighting the type of unit that it's best able to fight. For spearmen, they're designed to fight cavalry, so you want to be putting them in positions where cavalry are going to charge directly into them. For cavalry, that means you're not going to want to charge into spearmen. They can mow down archers or infantry, but you want to be a lot more tactical about how you attack spearmen. For archers, they're good at attacking anything, but you want to try and give them a clear shot. If you let your infantry and your cavalry get in front of them, they're going to have to fire over top of them, and that's not good. So we're going to back up our rest of our army to here so that the archers can get some good shots in. You see how they're currently arcing like this? We don't want that. That deals a lot less damage to the enemy. We want to make sure that they're firing flat, if at all possible. Now that the other army is backed up, they're firing like this, and you can see how much more damage that's doing. It's going to be more armor piercing. It's going to result in more hits, especially when they're kind of clumped up like this. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. We'll be firing like this and not like this whenever possible. Infantry do best against archers and against spearmen, although peasants are not good at anything, honestly. And cavalry do best when they're not directly fighting anything. You want to be charging them in and out. Used correctly, cavalry can be absolutely devastating, and they're typically the secret sauce to making unwinnable battles winnable. Particularly in the early game, your general's bodyguard is going to be by far the best unit on the battlefield, so you want to be able to be using them to your full advantage. A lot of newer players tend to neglect their general's bodyguard because they're afraid of their general getting killed. But if you're smart with them, and you charge them in and out, and you keep an eye on your general, this generally won't happen. The big no-nos with cavalry: do not charge them directly into spearmen, especially not pikemen. Your cavalry should never be left in a fight. They do best when they're charging in and out, and especially charging the flanks. And they routed them. Then cavalry can be used to clean up on routing units. Next is positioning. So when you start your deployment, you want to get a good look at what's included in your deployment box. In this example, and this often happens in maps that are in the Alps or in mountainous areas, there's a lot of terrain variance. If I started all the way down here, that would be a disaster because my opponents would have the upper hand and the high ground advantage.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
But I can also spawn all the way up here. So this is a no-brainer if you get this situation. And I want to try and start my deployment up here, so that 1, I have a positioning advantage, and 2, so that I never have to drain the energy of my troops in order to get to a better position during the battle. We're always fighting downward. So once we start the battle, we see where they started. And typically the CPU is just going to spawn in a pretty standard center of the zone position. They could have gone up here and they didn't. So this gives us a massive advantage. We're going to hit play, and we're going to see if they're going to come to us. They might or they might not. They're going to retreat to a more defensible position, or what they think is one. Okay, so they actually don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of running around over here. The CPU really doesn't play mountainous maps very well. It doesn't take it into account. But this terrain has an enormous effect on the fighting advantages, the morale, the tiredness of the units. So their units are probably pretty tired already because they've been running back and forth. So once we get into position, we're going to have a high ground advantage. And our shots, oh, let me turn off flaming arrows, are going to be more effective than theirs. Which, for whatever reason, they're not even bothered to shoot back yet. But we do get a damage increase from being uphill. Positioning is probably most important for cavalry because their effectiveness greatly depends on their ability to flank and to get off a charge on their enemy. Usually the best way to do this, I find, is to run the infantry into the front of an enemy while the cavalry sneaks around back and prepares for a flank. While the infantry locks the other infantry into place, the cavalry come in for a charge in the rear. Sometimes it can also be effective to push through an enemy. What I mean by that is, see all these guys back here who are not fighting? If you double right click through the unit, then all your guys will push through and they'll all be able to fight. You get a lot more surface area on your unit. You also need to know your choke points, your bridges, and your gates, and how to hold those. And you need to know when to charge and when to brace. And that's primarily going to be determined by the third factor, morale, morale, morale. If there's one thing I want you to be able to frame your understanding of battle tactics around, it's morale. Every battle is not about killing or fighting to the last man, but about crushing your enemy's spirit as fast as possible. You want to do as much killing as possible when the enemy is routing, because then they can't hurt you, or very minimally. Really briefly, the basics of morale is that every unit has a built-in value for morale, with your lower level militia and peasant troops having lower values, and more professional troops, higher level infantry, higher level cavalry, higher level archers, etc., they're going to have more default morale. If you really want to get into the nerdy stats, you can look at the game files, or there's some articles online about it. But suffice to say, the higher quality your troops are, the better default morale value they're going to have. That default value can be affected by the commanding general attributes on both sides, as well as various circumstances on the battlefield. This general has extremely high command and dread. The command is going to give his troops both a general morale boost going into the battle, and a localized morale boost when they're in proximity to him on the battlefield. The dread is going to induce a morale penalty on the enemy army. If he had chivalry instead, he would have an even bigger morale boost for his own troops. I always recommend dread over chivalry. Because when you're trying to break the enemy, it's much more important to make sure that their units break fast than it is to ensure that ours stick around. If we put our armies in a good position, they're not going to break anyways. Within a battle, units can lose morale if they get charged, especially by cavalry, are fighting uphill, are surrounded on multiple sides, are losing their current engagement, friendly units around them are routing. This is how you get chain routes, and why it's always best to try and hit the cheapest level troops first to generate a morale panic amongst the higher level troops. They also lose morale if they are taking fire, especially from flaming arrows, artillery, cow carcasses from trebuchets, if they're tired from running or fighting. If your army's general dies, there's a temporary loss of a lot of morale points, and then there's a lasting loss of a little bit of morale points over the course of the entire battle. Units gain morale from fighting downhill, having greater numbers than the opponent, if they're winning their current engagement, if their flanks are protected, if there are enemy units routing around them, and if their general is near them, especially if he has lots of command stars. Now for some general strategies for field battles. The first thing you want to do, as I said earlier, is you want to look for the highest ground you can. Particularly if you're overmatched, the enemy will come to you. You can also use this to your advantage to sneak around horse archers, or cavalry hit squads, to their flanks and their rear. It's often a good idea to target their general or their captain. You can always tell the captain's unit because they'll have one more man than the other units around them. A lot of times this will be a number like 121 if it's an infantry unit, or 81 if it's a cavalry unit. In this case, they have a captain, and the captain's unit will usually be positioned in the back of the army's formation. If the balance of power is against you, they'll march in your position, and they won't really care about your cavalry flanking them. Still, it's sometimes a little bit of a challenge to get a good charge on the captain's unit, because they might try and go through the formation, but we should be able to get a good charge on them here. We'll see. Unfortunately, we didn't have a great angle on him. We still might be able to get him. We're going to have to retreat back out of there. And we're going to have our army run to buy us a little more time. We want to minimize casualties. Let's bring our cavalry back in. Oh, can we get him? Can we get him? There we go, we got him.
Our men have slain the infidel general. Now the serpent's head has been cut off. The tail is sure to wither.
And we've got our unit routing already. And it's just a matter of charging these units at the right time. You can see they're already shaken. And we can engage up here at the front because their charge has been blunted and they've only got a couple units to come in with. And we're just getting a chain route started from the back. Even though it's usually not a good idea to charge missile cavalry into spearmen, if you can get it from the back, and they have a morale deficit, it's generally going to be met with success. There we go, chain route, chain route.
In our favor. From good tidings such as these, does victory spring forth.
Just got one unit. I think that's not running yet.
Only half the enemy force remains. We must raid the
And there we
movement
go.
to
Who's
fight.
not routing? Oh, you're not routing. And you gotta be careful though, because you want them all to route at the same time. You don't want to be playing whack-a-mole. You want them to stay on the run. And if they're being chased, they're going to keep running. There we go. 17% losses. Not too bad. And then you always want to make sure you chase down all routers. It gives your units experience, and it prevents you from having to fight them again in the future. For defensive battles, a few strategies. The first thing you're going to want to decide is whether you want to take a stand at the gate or in the town square. Typically, this is going to be at the gate because you have the defensive advantage of the gates and the walls. But if you're overmatched and if you don't have a general, sometimes the best course of action is going to be in the town square because your units are never going to retreat and the enemy is going to have to fight to the last man to beat you. And sometimes there's a hybrid to it. And sometimes you want a bit of a mix. So you might want to leave a unit or two in reserve in the town square. But in most cases, you're going to want to defend at the gate because it's going to take them a little while to get through it. You want your towers to be active, and you want to be able to get the benefit of these if you can. Also, whenever you have the opportunity to do so, and you know that a settlement is going to be vulnerable to attacks, like Antioch, Jerusalem, or Constantinople, that's going to be assaulted many times throughout the course of a campaign, you definitely want to build ballista towers and cannon towers because their return is extremely good. One of the benefits you get when you're defending is that the offensive army has to deploy first, so you get the advantage of knowing where they're going to have their people. In this case, I see that they have two ladders, one here, and they're manning one ram. So I'm going to want to counter each of these with one unit of infantry. I'm going to place that guy there, and then I'm going to place this guy here. More often than not, one unit of infantry is going to be sufficient. Unless you're supremely outmatched, like you're putting peasants against armored swordsmen, one unit's going to be plenty, because it drains a lot of morale for any unit to scale the walls, and they're generally going to rout pretty easily. You want to position your archers along the walls in all the places that there's not going to be a ladder coming. It's okay if they overlap slightly, but you want to try and avoid your archers from getting drawn into a melee combat with the unit that's scaling the walls, and you want to be able to keep them focused on fighting the enemy. One other thing you can do to buy yourself some more time of being able to shoot the enemy is consider sending out cavalry hit squads. If you send them out a side gate, you can get them around and over and cut off ladders and siege towers before they have a chance to get to the wall. This is going to slow down the offensive army, give your archers more time to shoot, and ultimately reduce your casualties. Admittedly, it works better on smaller settlements. This is a huge city, so it's going to take a little while to get around. This is going to be a lot more effective if it's a castle, large town, or regular town. But this is often going to be one of your best ways to use cavalry during a defensive siege because they're not much use charging within the settlement. That said, you're almost never going to want to sally the entire army out during a siege. The wall is your friend. Use it. A strong strategy at this point would be to turn on flaming arrows for our archers and try to take out this first ram. This will force them to have to go back and get their backup ram, giving yourself more time to shoot them. Once the ram's in position, you want to give up on shooting the ram because you're not going to get to it, and you want to turn off fire flaming arrows, and you want to shoot into the bulk of the army. The cavalry hit squad is a little too late to stop the ladders, but they can hit these archers. We've hit the unit that's climbing the walls, and we've confused them. They're starting to retreat down. Sometimes the cavalry will struggle to figure out where to attack when this unit is straddling the wall here, so it's hard to get a good charge in.
To arms, General! The enemy's ram has breached the gates!
But we've managed to rout them anyways. And they've also routed over here. Now that they're coming through the gates, I'm going to move all of my infantry that was on the walls down. We're going to try and get these guys back out of here if we can. But we're drawing their general away, which is a very good thing because that means their presence is not going to be able to help this army that's surging through. Another highly specific and very overpowered strategy that's exclusive to England is using the archer's sharpened stakes ability to block gateways or other choke points like bridges. Each of these archer units has the ability during the deployment phase to set down sharpened spikes. So if I put them all like this, and we maximize surface area by making them as wide as we can, you want to make sure that this shows up. Sometimes if you're too close to buildings, it won't show up, or if you're on top of ramparts. But let's back up here. We'll enable this, and we can see a very long line of sharpened stakes appears. All of England's archers except for peasant archers and Sherwood archers can do this. So I always recommend having at least one advanced unit of archers in a defensive siege battle if you're England. I honestly like to start at least 2 or 3 of these units because you can double up the stakes. And you can do it farther back as well. Now we're going to put all these principles together to win a really tricky battle. We've got a pretty mid-tier English army dug in at Antioch, and we're up against 2 premium Mongol stacks. Alright, here's how we're going to set this up. Let's move the cavalry out of the way, move the spearmen out of the way, and the spearmen out of the way. We're going to bring the longbowmen. We're going to place them as thin and as close to the gate as we can, while still deploying the sharpened stakes. Alright, that looks pretty good. We're going to place another one right here. How far back do we need to go? There we go. That's another set of stakes. Go over here, and same thing. There we go. Another set. It struggles to place them where there's actually archers already, so I'm going to go just slightly farther back. I'm going to do a second row of them right there. And we're going to do the same thing with this last unit. A little bit farther back. Okay, that's not going to go there, so we're just going to kind of go farther forward, and we'll see if we can get it to place some more up front. Alright, that's going to help. Alright, great. So those are our longbowmen. They're going to be group 1. We're going to place 4 units of spearmen in the back here to defend the gate. And then 2 units of archer militia, 1 on the left and 1 on the right. They have no siege towers up over here, so they should be pretty safe on these ramparts. This last unit of archer militia is going to go down here. They've got 2 siege towers and 2 units with ladders down here. So we're going to put the archer militia between these 2 ballista towers to keep them both active. I'm going to try and shoot down both these siege towers before they make it to the walls. Turn off skirmish mode, keep firing flaming arrows on. Now, I know that I said you typically just need 1 unit to defend against ladders, but that rule does not apply to the Mongols. So, we're going to put 2 spear units right here, and 2 spear units over here as well. Those ones should be the gate. Alright, and then these ones are right here. And then these units of archer militia are at the gate. Yeah, the Mongol infantry are just stupidly overpowered. We are going to put one of our cavalry units right over here to be a cavalry hit squad. They're going to go out the gate and attack one of those ladders. And then the last cavalry unit is going to go in the back of the settlement and is going to be playing at this gate right here. And then the last cavalry unit is going to be actually placed at the back of the settlement, and they're going to be keeping an eye out on this other army over here. This army has no siege equipment, so they're dependent on the first army to get to the front gate. So we're just going to want to keep the ballista towers active as they traipse around the side of the settlement. Alright, we should be good to go. Let's start the battle, and let's give a few more orders right away. We're going to place these longbowmen up on the ramparts, wherever they can fit. Right there. Okay, we're going to turn off skirmish mode, and I'm actually going to keep firing flaming arrows off for all of these guys at the gate, and that's only for demonstrative purposes. I want the cavalry to get through here and kill themselves in the stakes, but generally speaking, I'd want to take out the rams and prevent them from getting in. Then I'm also going to send out the cavalry hit squad, and we're going to go for that unit right there. Alright, so the ballista towers are going to be doing a lot of work here. They're going to be going right after that ram, and we can also see in the background that the siege towers are being destroyed, which is good. We want them to burn. Oh, no, turn off the flaming arrows. Okay, we shot a few of them, but they've switched over now, so hopefully that wasn't too much damage. They have a second ram in the back that they can bring in. Okay, how are we doing on the siege towers? 59%, 46%. And where are we? Okay. We're going to hit these guys right here. They weren't expecting it. Perfect. Back up over there. Okay, this Rams actually might make it. We're 25%. They just need to survive maybe 1 or 2 more volleys. If they don't burst into flames, I think that it will make it there. 38%. 42%. I think that it can survive now. I don't think that it's within range of the towers anymore. So, we'll actually get that through. One of the siege towers died, and this one didn't. So we actually are going to... Actually, ooh. Guy should go over there. And we're going to try and charge in there. Move this guy over here. And this guy over here. No, to there. If we can. Okay. The battering ram appears to have made it, which is good. Let's make sure that we're raining down fire right there. And you guys need to get out of there fast. This is unacceptable. Got to keep moving. Okay, let's go. Get out of there. Alright, spearmen, move forward. To there. To there. I'm going to pause actually to give myself a little more breathing room. To there. And great, we got a good charge off here. This is very good. Took down almost half that unit. So I've repositioned the troops that we're going to fight this ladder troop to fight that siege tower, which I was hoping wouldn't make it. Alright, get out of there. Okay, we're taking down a number of them with the arrows. That's really good. The door will be down any second, 80%. Okay, we think we finally got most of the archers. There's still a unit of archers out of there. Come on, man. Move it. Alright. Let's pause real fast because I'm going to have to focus on the gate in just a second, but I don't want to miss recharging right there. Okay. Bring it on, Mongols. Oh, you guys got to move too. Come on. Move it. Get in there. Really don't want those longbowmen to get hit. They're going to get hit. Okay, so these spearmen are bracing here. And all these cavalry are just going to get launched from their horses. Would love to get their general, too, if we can. That would be an excellent bonus. Oh, perfect. Look at that timing. Okay, let's pause real fast. Let's check in on our Crusaders. Oh, good. Completely mopped up that unit. Let's go see who else is over here. Let's see if we can get into the back of that Mongol infantry over here. And then how are we doing on the walls? They have not quite gotten up the ladders yet. Where are they? Where's that unit? Oh, they're broken. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. And then these guys over here are probably going to be a little bit of a tougher sell. Do we have another unit on the way to back them up? Let's get them over there. Okay. Great. All right. We have a routing unit yet? Some wavering.
Badly bloodied. They have lost half their men.
Okay, all their cavalry is getting absolutely annihilated. Oh, did you see that? Huh! Flying off their horses. That's beautiful. Okay, let's pause. Where are we over here? Let's charge them. And then all of you guys, we'll leave... Is that just 2 units? Okay. We'll leave 1 unit just in case that second army tries to send some infantry. Actually, we'll leave both here for the moment. I think that we're doing okay at the main gate. Got a routing unit. That's very good. Should start turning into a chain route here in a second. Okay, looks like this 1 unit did get through, just through the right. But overall, quite a good route. I want all these spearmen to stay on guard mode. I don't want them to get out there. My general, I want to keep very far away from the stakes, because stakes can actually harm your own cavalry quite a bit. Yeah, don't leave those gates. Okay, so it looks like we kind of destroyed that first wave there. And let's just kind of take stock of where we are, because the second wave is going to be coming. Okay, we're mopping up on them. Let's take a look at where this army is. They're mostly going around this way. And I've kind of neglected this guy. So let's kind of go over to this corner, and we'll see if we can activate some of these towers along the way. And let's basically reset for that second wave. Okay, we want you to stop firing for the moment. Don't want you wasting fire on trying to get those guys at that angle. You're mostly just going to hit our guys. These guys are going to try and get back out, but that's not going to go very well for them. Okay, you guys also stop firing at will. Just stop for the moment. Where are you? Okay, get back out. We're going to recharge. Okay, don't love that they're apparently winning. It's not good. Go ahead and send in 1 round of reinforcements if we can here. Let's get these longbowmen up on a wall. Okay, back out of there. Okay, where is this army? Let's check in. Okay, can we activate the tower? Great, tower activated. Though realistically, we're probably losing a few more cavalry from this than we are shooting them with that, but it's okay. Let's pause. Where are our longbowmen? Because we're about to start having some people coming around here. Want to get you in a good situation. Let's move to there. Let's have you right there. Where are our other units? Okay, you need to go over there. Who's fighting? Who are you fighting? Oh, there's probably like 1 or 2 of them over here, maybe. Yeah, we don't want that. You should reposition over here if we can. And you should get over here, because they're all going to come from that direction. Well, there's a few from the far direction, but not many. Alright. We've killed almost 50% of the whole army. No one's here anymore? Right, okay, alright. Archer militia, gotta get up on the walls, man. What are you doing? Okay. Reform the line, reform the line, reform the line. We took very minimal losses to our spearmen, which is a really good sign. Just gotta reset for the next wave.
Pray something changes in the course of battle, for defeat seems almost certain.
I don't think so, man. I think we're doing pretty well. Okay, who's this? You also need to get back up on the wall. What are you doing down there? Oh, who's routing? That's not good. Yeah, that's alright. We'll come back. Alright, you guys, go ahead and attack them. What are we doing over here? Let's go ahead and move forward to the double towers right here. Let's see. Are they sending any infantry on this side? That could be important. They are. So we'll keep that guy there for just a moment. Okay, we routed that unit. That's very nice. Okay, you're just going to kind of stay off in reserve until I need you. You're kind of depleted, and you've definitely served your purpose so far. Alright, we got both these towers active. I don't know if they're actually firing a whole lot at that angle. They don't seem to be. So let's go ahead and move forward down to this tower. See if we can get some, get an angle on them. Look at these spikes. Okay, so we're starting. Okay, now you can shoot them. Shoot them. And we can kind of turn on fire at will mode now that they've got some people within range. Would love to get as many shots off as we can here.
Only intervention by the Almighty or a military
No,
genius can bring
you're
us victory
wrong.
from
You're
this.
wrong. Okay, that's not ideal. We're going to have to see if they want to use the ladders or not. We'll see. Oh, actually, stop. Okay. Should be very, very careful, and I keep wanting to move the general around, and I don't want him anywhere near the stakes. Oh, good. Their bodyguard's in the front, so hopefully he'll die very quickly as well. How are you doing? You're here. Okay, they're under fire slightly over there. Where are you? You should move over here. Bring this guy back over here. He's fulfilled his purpose. Oh, shoot. My last unit. Okay. That's something we'll have to kind of figure out. You can stop firing flaming arrows. Okay, that's not a priority right now. I want to focus on the gate, but that is annoying that those guys won. Mongol infantry are so overpowered. Okay. First wave of cavalry from the 2nd Army is coming in. Don't like having a routing unit there. That's kind of not good for my morale. And they're also not charging. So we're going to move forward a little bit. Okay, I'd like for you guys to be shooting out, not in, please. If we can get their general, that would be very, very nice. Might be fighting a little bit too far forward. Can't tell if we're out in front of the stakes. It's just such a mess.
Pray something changes in the course of battle, for defeat seems almost certain.
I'm resistant to pull back, but I think that I might have to here. I want them to be charging in. Where's their bodyguard? Bodyguard. Okay. Where are you? Okay, they did not send any infantry in. So we can go ahead and pull him over here to deal with that. Okay, we got a routing unit. That's not good. That's not good, guys. Okay, I want them to come in. Okay, I'm going to switch to skeleton formation. Oh man, there's still a lot more coming in. I'm really... Oh! Stop, 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 stop. No, stop, stop, stop. Oh my gosh, the general almost impaled himself on the spikes there. No, stop, 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 stop. Ah! Stop! Oh, he died. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, that was highly unfortunate, but hopefully you got a good sense of how these strategies combined together can mount an effective defense against a far, far superior force. And also the power of stakes. Now, basic offensive siege strategies start with the construction of siege equipment. I almost always go for only rams, and I'll show you why. I'll build a couple of ladders just in case, but typically I'm going to be relying mostly on the rams. This is where I'm going to get a little bit controversial, because a lot of the common knowledge for siege battles will tell you to strike at a bunch of different points and have a bunch of different armies on siege equipment over here and attack multiple gates. I don't think that makes sense, because like I indicated before, it's all about morale. And especially when you're assaulting a settlement, you want to minimize casualties. So that means two things. One, you keep your forces concentrated, and two, you avoid fighting the town square at all costs. And the best way to do that is to bum rush and do what I call the gate flood. So, what we're going to do, we're going to drop the ladders. If for some reason all of our rams get broken, we'll come back to them, but they probably won't. Now, what I'll do is however many rams I have, and you'll want at least 2 rams. I always build at least 2 rams. In this case, we have 3. But you want to make sure that you have at least one of them getting to the wall and doesn't get broken. So what I'll do is I'll assign these rams to the cheapest, most disposable units, usually peasants or peasant archers, and I'll put them right here. I'll have one assigned to go to the gate, and then the other ram or 2 will be rolling up right next to it. And that way, if this one goes up in flames, we can quickly tell one of these to go in instead. So, they're headed there, they're headed there. This is going to spread out the flame fire from the defenders, and likely none of these 3 are going to go up in flames, but if one of them does, we've got spares. You want to keep the rest of your army well out of range until the gates are broken. Okay, so this ram actually did go up in flames, and that's actually a really inconvenient position to do that, but we're still going to be able to get this ram in. I just gotta wait for that one to go up in flames so there's space. And there we go. Sneak this in. And let's hit that fence. Come on, come on, come on. Turn it into place. And there we go. Okay. We can go ahead and drop that one, because once you're at the point you're at the gate, it's probably not going to get hit anymore. But that's why we have multiple rams. And that's why we bring it up with the other one as well, because otherwise we have to go all the way back and back to the front, and they might be able to shoot that one down. So you split them up to spread out their fire. Okay, now once it's almost down, we're going to group up all of our army, and we're going to go right through. The goal is to get through their lines. You obviously want to protect your general a little bit, but we want to get through. Alright? Because they've left a little bit of a hole. Even if they don't, we want to push through it. The goal is to get between them and the town square so that when they rout, and they will because we're sending in everything in full force, they're going to rout right into us. So we're going to send everyone in. The goal is get through them. Get through. And then that means these guys as well.
These walls now belong to the
Okay, come on.
Empire.
Push through, push through, push through. All the way through. Come on. Don't fight. All the way through.
This battle progresses well for the Empire.
Yeah,
Stay
okay.
strong, and the enemy will be defeated.
The bigger your army, the better this works, obviously. If you want to take a settlement with minimal casualties without doing crazy strategies every time, this is the way to do it. And then once you're behind them, you can charge them. We've already got some routing happening up here, so they'll come down straight into our guys. Back out, charge in. Alright, let's keep moving forward. Wavering. We want to make sure we're capturing these routers as well. We don't want to let them escape. Okay, we have a routing unit. That's not great, but we'll deal with that. Let's cut them off. Cut them off. There we go. They're routing. Cut them off. Cut them off. And you saw we had 25% to 6%, and you've seen how quickly it swung back in our favor. And as soon as they start routing, we'll have all of them. Okay, got one more routing. That's good. Only a matter of time.
The enemy has lost half his army.
Okay, here we go. This is when we gotta swoop in. Don't let any of them get to town square. Get him, get him, get him, get him. Okay, we still got this little grouping over here. And look how fast that swung. We've got 75% of them down. It's all about morale. Alright, and those units are completely gone. One single soldier escaped. So we will have to deal with the general and with that one peasant archer. Alright. And they start to rout. Just this one unit of crossbow militia left. Speed this up. And there they go. Alright. So everyone's going to snatch those guys up. And now they're 91% dead. Okay. Now, we've taken out all of their melee units, except for this one guy. Yeah, we're going to... You're dead. Oh, no, no. Oh, don't want these guys to be firing. Okay. This is when you would want to turn off the fire at will, because that may shoot our own guy. Okay. He's routing. That's fine. Okay. Now what we want to do is establish a... We want to take a... You're still trying to take as few casualties as possible, and fighting general's bodyguard in a town square is not a very attractive proposition. So, let's group up all our archers. And we want to position them... We want to position our spearmen towards the front here, so that they can't get to our archers except through our spears. Yeah, ideally you want to draw them out of the town square if you can, but they're probably not going to rout all that much anyways because they're general's bodyguard. But we want to soak up all of the shots that we have from crossbows and from peasant archers. And get as much free damage as we can on them. Even if they're not actually dropping, we're still decreasing their hit points. Especially with general's bodyguard, they have a lot of hit points. This is not a great angle, but it is going to be doing some damage. Okay. And then when they do come after us, they're going to run right into our spears. Which is obviously a terrible engagement for cavalry to be running to this many spears head on. And there we go. Alright, and there we go. A few more casualties than I wanted to, but it's mostly in the cheaper infantry units, and we avoided fighting in the town square for as much of the battle as we can. It would have been a lot bloodier if we were fighting the entire army there. Another specific strategy is that when you have this specific settlement layout, you can use it to your advantage. Particularly if the enemy is mostly a cavalry-based army, and you have missile troops. This is a Northern European castle layout, and the town square is within shooting distance of the ramparts. So once you get your guys on the walls, they're going to kind of retreat to the town square. You'll have a high ground advantage, get a damage bonus, and you get a nice, clean, straight shot. There's nothing they can do about it.
We are blessed. The enemy general is dead. We have sent the idiot to hell.
Now, admittedly, you're not going to get a lot of all cavalry garrisons. So if you had some infantry here that were threatening you, what you would do is you'd bring your spearmen over here to kind of bait them out. And then they get shot by the archers before they ever had a chance to climb the towers. So let's move our spearmen up here. If they try and charge us, we'll be ready.
The enemy
but they're not.
the battle.
Also, counterintuitively, sometimes you can get the best results when you're attacking if you actually send less forces. If you send an army that's small enough that the enemy will sally out, you can use that to your advantage to minimize casualties. So we just sent one unit of heavy cavalry, and this garrison's going to sally out. Now, it looks like a sizable garrison, but they're all infantry, and because they think that they have the advantage, they're going to chase me wherever they want. They're going to chase me wherever I go. In this example, I'm just going to go straight to the corner of the map. I'm going to find, actually, let me go here, because this one's a little more hilly. It's going to give me a high ground advantage. And there are two ways I can go about this. So the one of them is the kind of the buggy, exploity kind of one, and I go over this in the exploit guide. But realistically, you're just going to, even without exploits, you're just going to run them a really far ways away, tire them out, and they're just going to follow you wherever you want. I'm going to alternate between walking and running, and I'll get there faster than them and maintain my fresh energy level. Gonna take up position on top of the hill here. Now they're going to be pretty tired. When they start firing at me, I'm going to charge them. We really should take out their captain to get a morale penalty first. So let's try and position ourselves on that side. And if we can charge right there, I would love to take out that guy. There we go. Excellent. That should win it for us right there, I believe. They're starting to waver. Let's do one more charge. Okay, one of those units is routing already. We should get another charge in here. Okay, careful, careful. We're going to go after these peasants here. Okay, we got them routing.
Our army is tiring. The enemy are badly bloodied.
Okay, and then it's just this unit. There we go. Come on, just the one more unit right here. There we go. A few more casualties than I wanted to, but there's absolutely no way that this kind of army could have won straight up in the town square. Obviously, this is an extreme example, but you can do this even when you have infantry in your army. If you have an inferior force, they're going to come out and they're going to fight, and that's going to be a much better battle for you than trying to take the walls. Whenever you're attacking a settlement and you have access to artillery units, You should use them rather than siege equipment whenever possible. This is going to allow you to do more damage and take less casualties in approaching the settlement. Easiest way to do this is by attacking the gates like this. You don't need to take down the walls, you just need 1 unit of artillery generally. You fire on the gates themselves.
Grâce à Dieu, we have breached the enemy's gates.
Alright, so the gates are down, and then now they're actually going to send some infantry forward. So you're going to want to take them to the gates, and then with whatever artillery you have left, you're going to want to take out the turrets. And a little ballista like this may not actually be able to take out both turrets before it runs out of ammunition, but a catapult or anything above that certainly will. Definitely cannons. Unfortunately, this puny little ballista was only able to get this tower down to 78%, so obviously you want to actually finish them off, but really if you had 2 units or if you had anything even a little bit better than a ballista, it would be able to work. So, all that to say, this is just a small sampling of some of the battle strategies that I like to use in Medieval 2. This is by no means a comprehensive list. If you want to see some other cool strategies that I've used in the past, I'd encourage you to check out my 7-turn Blitz campaign where I conquered all 106 Old World regions in just 7 turns.